Welcome to episode 46 of Fascinating, a Star Trek podcast. A piece of the action.
In this week's episode, the consequences of another ship's interference in a planet's development are seen, as the Enterprise finds a civilization that bases their entire way of life on a book about Chicago mobs from the 1920s. When Kirk and Spock inevitably become involved in territorial skirmishes, it is up to the captain to resolve matters. But can he see a sensible way forward, or is the system of violence here to stay?
I got the biggest in the world. You know, there's one thing wrong with having the biggest. There's always some punk trying to cut you out.
Good evening, Ian. How are you?
I am the biggest? No, I'm fine.
Well, you wish.
Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Good. You've not got the COVID yet?
Not yet. Nope.
Good.
Final furlong. Nearly there.
Nearly. Enjoy the episode?
Poisonally, I thought it was great.
We got the full Shat experience this week.
We did. He loved it.
He was having a ball.
They all were.
Did it feel authentic to you?
No.
No.
Well, in what sense?
Like compared to another gangster or mob movie that maybe wasn't 100% taking itself seriously.
No, I wouldn't say it was authentic, but it was tremendous fun. This is one of the episodes which I had seen or noted in the past. Probably not watched all the way through, but I think I'd stopped, maybe of channel hopping, and I saw the setup and I stopped, maybe watched 10 minutes, caught a bit of it. So it does ring a bell, and it's the type. I mean, I do love a mobster movie, a gangster movie anyway. So this really hit the spot for me.
I think the vision or the image of Kirk and Spock in the suits is fairly iconic with the hats.
His fuzzy fedora.
I was going to say it's made of felt.
A
bit odd.
Maybe that's what they were made of back then.
That was on that planet.
Sure.
Shall we get into it?
Let's crack on. On the bridge.
Yes, the episode opens with Chekhov's only speaking line of the week.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. They're approaching Sigma Iota 2
Yes.
when Ahura tells Kirk that she has received a communication from a man named Oxmix, who has the amusing title of Boss.
I think Kirk quite likes that title.
Yeah.
Probably wants it for himself.
You can't have it. Springsteen's got it.
That's it.
He takes the call and confirms to this boss that he is from the same outfit as the Horizon, who was lost after leaving his planet. He doesn't seem too bothered about the loss of the Horizon.
Well, yeah, it was in the early days of interstellar travel, I think. From what they say about the radio transmissions, it doesn't seem to be this planet's fault that they were lost. It's just that they were lost 100 years ago.
Ah, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's not a contemporary loss.
No.
Okay, it's a bit like the Titanic. We don't really bother about it.
No, I mean, we're interested in it, but you wouldn't be like, oh,
No.
Titanic, it's a shame.
You make jokes about it.
You can now. Enough time has passed.
Of course.
Tragedy plus time equals humour.
Without a doubt. Even though this was a long time in the past, they only heard the radio report last month.
Yes, it had been sent using such an old technology that it just reached them now.
Oxmix doesn't know what he's talking about.
Kirk's a bit patronising here.
Yeah, what does he say?
He says he'll explain things when he sees them.
Yeah, they're going to beam down some people, but he then realises that he probably won't get this concept either.
No.
He's a doughball.
Well, Oxmix doesn't understand because he's not got that technology.
That's true. So they arrange to meet in 5 minutes on the street, and he then grabs Spock and McCoy and tells them that they are coming with him.
Literally on their way out to the lift.
The turbo lift. On the way, we hear that the Horizon's communication came before a non-interference directive came into effect.
Yeah, but Kirk doesn't even really care about it now, so what difference does it make whether it was before or after the directive?
It doesn't make that much of a difference, but they discuss the possibility that there may have been some sort of contamination.
Absolutely. Kirk says maybe not, but we'll find out. Apparently the culture was at the beginning of an industrial revolution when the Horizon was here.
In the transport room, Spock informs them that the Iosians, is it Iosians?
Yeah.
Are very intelligent, but are also imitative.
Yes, McCoy says there's a risk of further contamination, but Spock takes a strange position here.
The damage has been done.
And they're going to fix it? They don't even know what's happening on the planet.
He'll fix it.
Yeah.
How hard can it be?
I don't know, but Kirk tells the two of them to shut up. They're going to beam down.
On the street, they materialise beside a yellow fire hydrant, and it has the look of a 1920s, 1930s. At first I wasn't sure if it was Chicago or New York, but that feel.
Yeah, interwar period. McCoy says it feels like home, but Kirk says that nowhere he came from ever looked like this.
No, and the place, you can tell there's lots of big and little differences. There's litter strewn everywhere. It's obviously not been very well kept.
Yeah.
But there's a bigger concern.
Literally everybody has massive machine guns.
Yeah, Tommy guns.
Apparently, period's appropriate.
Yes. They are then accosted by 3 armed mobsters and ordered to look petrified.
Spock doesn't quite understand what they mean.
No, but I think he gets the gist of it when they point their weapons at him.
Yeah, and they say, put your hands over your head or you ain't going to have no head to put your hands over.
And we should say they're all dressed in the gangster gear of the 30s.
Yeah, suits and
Al
hats and
Capone
ties.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of nod to Al Capone throughout this episode.
Yeah.
It's not condemnatory either, it's fairly...
It's factual.
Well, not just factual, but almost reverential.
Hmm.
We get the credits now, and we return to the same scene moments later.
Where they are forced to hand over their phasers, although the mobsters don't understand what type of weapons they are.
Yeah, I think the main guy who does all the speaking, he's called Kalo, and he has a phaser in hand, but is warned quickly by Kirk to be very careful, lest he dissolve himself.
I think they try to protest.
Very briefly.
But they're not interested in anything, especially McCoy's baby blue eyes.
Indeed. Kalo says that he's come from Oxmix and takes umbrage when McCoy tells him that the guns are not necessary. He's also quite dismissive of Spock when he asks if everybody carries weapons, as if it's the sort of thing he should know.
Yeah, he sneers at Spock before they begin to walk them to meet Oxmix.
Yes, but they don't get very far.
No, one of them is killed in a drive-by shooting before they continue to walk on under armed cover from Kalo as 2 broads approach the mobsters with complaints.
Yeah, they're not happy about how their money's getting spent in the local area.
No, there's crummy street lights and a lack of laundry trucks.
They're summarily told to get lost, and Kirk asks whether this is how all complaints are handled.
Yeah, but I think they remind him that they pay a percentage to the boss.
They do, and Kalo says this to Kirk as well. He says they pay their percentages and the boss looks after them, but there doesn't seem to be all that much looking after going on. They end up at Oxmix's office.
Yeah, the boss is sitting with a woman perched on his desk.
Yes, and you get a sort of little bit of music there to tell you all about that.
He gets up to shoot some pool as they're brought in, although I don't think he knows how to play pool, if you watch what he does.
No, and it reminded me of the Columbo episode when they visit the guy with the pool table in his house. Yeah.
That was How to Dial a Murder, I believe.
Was it?
With the Scottish lead.
Yes.
After some small talk and introductions, Oxmix confirms that he is the boss of his territory, but notes the problems that come with having the biggest.
We heard that at the top of the show. He runs his territory. There's not any government. There's no overarching body, so each boss has a certain area that he looks after, and they're in conflict. Yeah,
he burns them when he gets the chance.
Apparently there's about a dozen bosses with decent-sized territory and a whole lot of small fry.
And Spock then surprises him by asking if one of the bosses includes someone called Crackle.
Yes, and Kalo has to explain about the hit that took place.
So the slightly shocked Oxmix orders him to be hit back and hard.
He does, and Kalo says he'll deal with it, and I think he might leave at this point.
He does. Spock turns to inspect a book which is on a stand, almost like a holy book.
Like a lectern, yeah.
Presented. It's called The Chicago Mobs of the 20s. And he calls Kirk and McCoy over to have a look.
Gangsters, Chicago, mobs. Published in 1992.
Where'd you get this?
Hey, wait a minute. That's the book.
I know it's a book.
The book. They left it. The other ship, the Horizon.
This is the contamination, Captain. Astonishing. An entire culture based on this.
You said they were imitative in the book. I don't want any more cracks about the book.
Did they leave any other books?
Yeah, sure. Some textbooks on how to make radio sets and stuff like that, but look, I brought you down here so you could help me, not for you to ask me questions. After that, I'll answer anything you want to know.
What is it you want?
Well, I was thinking. You feds must have made a lot of improvements since that other ship came here. They probably got all kinds of fancy heaters up there. So here's the deal. You give me all the heaters I need, enough tools so I can knock off all those punks all at once. Then I'll take over, and all you have to do is deal with me.
Now, let me get this straight. You want us to supply you with arms and assistance so you can carry out an aggression against your neighbors?
What aggression? I gotta make some hits. I want you to help me hit them, that's all.
Fascinating, but quite impossible.
Mr. Oxmix, my orders are quite explicit.
I ain't interested in your orders. And from now on, you're gonna take orders from me. I'm gonna give you just 8 hours to give me the things I want. If I don't have those tools by then, I'm gonna call up your ship and have them pick you up in a box. Is that understood, pal?
I suspect Kalo didn't leave when I suggested he did, because at this point he turns his gun on Kirk along with one of the other random henchmen.
That's true, yeah. We fade back in with Oxmix being given their heaters and has to be stopped by Kirk from blowing away a wall.
Yes, just to be careful. He's impressed, though, by the potential destructive power of the device.
And wants 100 of them.
Kirk explains what the communicator does as well after a bit of persuasion.
Yeah. The goons are then told to take our heroes to a warehouse. And when they've gone, Oxmix tries the communicator and he gets through to a puzzled Scotty.
He does. Scotty's not really quite clear what Oxmix wants, I don't think.
No. He tells them they have Kirk, and if they want him back alive, he has to send down 100 phasers and people to show him how they work.
Well, he doesn't say phasers, he says heaters. And
Yeah.
after they finish their conversation, Scotty has to ask a crewman to look up what a heater is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's going to find the right answer.
No.
He'll send down gas heaters. 3 bars. In the warehouse, the guards are playing cards while McCoy and Spock and Kirk chat about the book.
Yes, in whispered tones. And I think they agree that the book is effectively society's blueprint. It's their Bible.
That's what's happened here, yeah. And they talk about what happened in Earth's history.
Yeah, back in the 20s, gangs nearly took over from government, although Spock agrees with Oxmix's goal of achieving unity and having some sort of rule over anarchy.
Yeah, Spock's decided how things should be, so he's going to impose this if he gets the opportunity. He's learning from his captain.
Good man. Kirk also accepts that if the breakdown of government was due to interference from the horizon, then the Federation has a responsibility and asks if Spock could find a solution in the sociological computer banks.
Spock says he doesn't know, and
He doesn't have access to them for
also,
a start,
he doesn't think they're going to let him have access to the computers to find out. So Kirk comes up with a plan on the spot to distract the guards.
He's a bit like Hannibal from the A-Team here.
Yeah, he's going all rogue, isn't he?
He's on the jazz.
He invents a new card game.
Yeah, he goes over to these mobsters and goads them into playing a different card game. Now, this was like last week, where he got his way by preying on their gambling instinct or their...
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes, with the disembodied brains.
Yeah. They can't resist a wager.
Indeed. And these guys obviously are up for anything that they might win money from.
What's this game he comes up with?
Fizbin.
Yeah, it seems pretty complex. Certainly the conditions and the rules are.
I imagine there's people in the Star Trek fan community who play Fizbin.
I have taken a note of that. I bet there's a lot of nerds who... I bet you can buy Fizbin cards and decks, and
I can honestly say I don't think that's true.
Someone has come up with rules. Yeah, I bet there is.
I don't think that the rules are...
There's been a Fizbin Kickstarter somewhere.
I just don't think that they would work because he contradicts himself.
He does, but maybe there's maybe somebody's made a simplified version of the rules.
Maybe. I've not come across it, I can say that.
Okay. Yeah, it's on the dark web you can get that sort of stuff.
Probably. At some point, he drops a card to the ground and the enthralled guards stop to pick it up.
And when they do, it allows them to overpower their captors and they're pinching a few punches.
Indeed. So Kirk sends Spock and McCoy to the local radio station because Uhura's monitoring communications, and he's going to go after Oxmix.
Outside, he doesn't get very far, as another Hood stops him and takes the gun he had acquired and forces him into the back of a car.
It's almost comedic.
Yeah. Like, yes, I've done it now.
Freedom, freedom. Oh. Meanwhile, over at the radio station, after a false start, Spock does indeed get hold of Uhura.
Yeah, I like that false start. He ends up playing the latest Jailbreakers recording.
Yes, I don't think Uhura would know it was him, though.
No, but McCoy obviously enjoys his misstep there. Because he was hugely confident.
Yes, just do this, and then... Oh. Second try is a good one, though, and Uhura asks what he's doing on this channel.
Yeah, I mean, eventually she agrees to beam them up.
It reminded me a bit of the bit in Die Hard when he gets through in the police channel and like, get off this channel.
Yes.
You're not authorised.
We're now at Jojo Krako's office. Kirk finds himself delivered to Krako, who, as we see from the nameplate, is the boss of the Southside Territory. He's got the boss on his outside his door.
He's been bugging Oxmix's communications, so he knows all about Kirk and who he is.
Quite comical as well. We see him throwing darts at Oxmix.
Yes, a picture of him. He's got targets on it, yeah. Over his shoulder, is that? He chucks one over his shoulder.
Does he? Yeah.
I think so. He wants to make a deal, though. He doesn't want to just impose his terms on Kirk.
Yes. And after instructing his dame to massage Kirk, Krako describes a different arrangement.
I know, Bella. He didn't offer you beans. Me? I'm a reasonable man. You give me what I want, and I'll cut you in for, say, a third. Skimmed right off the top. Well, what do you think?
I got a better idea. This planet has to be united. Now, you know that. Bella knows that. Let's sit down. You, me, Bella, discuss this whole matter, contact the other bosses, and talk about it like reasonable men.
You watch it, Kirk. The book tells us how to handle things. You make hits. Somebody argues, you lean on them. What do you think, we're stupid or something?
Oh, no, I don't think you're stupid, Mr. Krako. I just think your behavior is arrested.
I've never been arrested my whole life. Now listen, Pally, I know how to get what I want. You want to live, don't you, Kirk? You bet you do. But after I get through with you, you're liable to be sorry unless you come across. Hold him here. Tell Cyril the knife to sharpen up his blade. I just might have a job for him. Unless you come across with the heater.
I'm sorry, Krako. No deal.
That's too bad. Put him on ice.
The place that they put Kirk on ice isn't the most
secure.
No, it's in fact quite well stocked.
Again, it's a little bit like the A-Team. They put them into a room full of bits and bobs that they can finagle to their advantage.
Exactly. So we see Kirk taking the room apart as we head up to the bridge of the Enterprise,
where Spock tells McCoy the bad news. He has found no evidence that any culture exists that is based on a moral inversion.
Indeed. Uhura reports that Oxmix is on the line.
Yeah, he's a bit confused about how they got back up there, but informs them they better get back down as Krako has put the bag on Kirk.
Spock takes this literally at first, but Oxmix explains through a degree of exasperation, he explains that this means Kirk has been kidnapped.
Yeah, he also calls him a dope.
He does.
Spock, probably not used to being called a dope.
No. Oxmix comes up with a reasonable offer that Spock is happy to accept.
Yeah, to help him get Kirk back, and then they can help him. Spock admits that he doesn't trust him, but Oxmix claims that there will be a truce, and they're going to work together to spring Kirk.
Yeah, and once he's off the line, McCoy questions Spock's approach and is told that they have no option but to trust him.
Back down in the holding room, Kirk sets a trap using a coil wire which he's taken from the radio, and this causes a Hood to trip when he and another mobster enters and allows them to be assaulted comic style.
Yes, I think the second guy is the lead henchman. He's called Zabo.
Is that Zabo? Right,
Yes.
okay. In any case, Kirk escapes with a gun.
He does. Up in the transporter room, Spock advises Scotty, and this is something that we don't see in any other episode,
I didn't think so. It's very convenient.
to set the ship's phasers to a strong stun. He hopes not to have to use them, but the fact that he's given this order is very reassuring to McCoy.
Yeah. In Oxmick's office, just before they arrive, we see the boss prepare his men for what looks like a trap, a double cross.
An ambush of some kind, yeah. Similar to when they first arrived.
Yeah, and when they do appear, they are immediately accosted.
I like the line, they can't do anything till they stop sparkling.
We have a Spock log where the hapless Vulcan thinks it is incredible that they are both prisoners again. He's made a bit of a mess of this, hasn't he?
He has. He hasn't thought this through.
And have their weapons taken from them. Now, these weapons that they took from them this time look more like guns.
Yeah, that's a different type of phasers, a type 1 and a type 2.
Have we seen that then before?
Yeah.
Have we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oxmix is amused that Spock ever trusted him.
No, he tells him to keep his mouth shut. He's not interested in what his complaints are and what he believes is.
He says, that's what I hoped you'd believe, dummy.
Yes. Spock must be raging. Dope, dummy, I am a highly intellect. Shut it. Give me your guns.
Spock continues to try and push him towards forming a cooperative government, but he's not interested.
No. However, at this, the cavalry arrives in the form of Kirk, and suddenly the balance of power shifts again, and weapons change hands.
Yes, he's surprised, but pleased to find out that Spock and McCoy have returned from the Enterprise, and doubly pleased that the computer has no good advice for him.
Yeah, Oxmix also is quite impressed that Kirk managed to get away from Krakow.
Indeed, he is. Spock is asked by Kirk if he has any objections to his captain playing a hunch.
Which he doesn't.
Well, he says he doesn't like the idea, but he has no alternative. Kirk makes two of the men strip naked.
Well, there's always time for that, isn't there?
Also in Kirk's world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they use, again, the sort of vernacular of the day again in order to request this.
Well, by this point, Shatner has gone full Chicago.
He has. I like watching him in this.
He's clearly having a ball.
Yeah.
Out on the street, presumably having left McCoy to watch Oxmix, Kirk and Spock set off by car to Krakow's.
They now look the part, don't they?
Very much so.
However, it was very fortunate that both of them took exactly the same size of clothes as their mobster counterparts because they fitted precisely.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
Very, yeah. And we have this, you see we leave by car, but a very pleasant scene here. I really enjoyed this, where Kirk is trying to work. He thinks it's pretty straightforward. He's maybe read some instruction manuals in the past, and he eventually thinks he's worked out how to drive a manual car. Spock tells him about the clutch.
So here's my question.
Okay.
So cars and their technology have changed a lot since the 60s. But Kirk's treating this car like there is only one type of car that you would have to learn how to start.
Yeah.
You know, it must have a starter, it must have a clutch. Very few cars in America have either of those anymore.
Yeah, true.
So why has he learned specifically this mechanism? Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Well, maybe he knows the cars of that period, how they would operate.
Yeah, maybe. It's very gentle comedy anyway.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
In any case, they set off and eventually managed to kangaroo over to Krakow.
Yeah, fortunately, it's only 2 streets away.
Almost as if it's in a studio backlot somewhere.
Indeed. They arrive there and they're discussing their approach when a precocious young boy...
Let's not forget the nice line where Spock tells Kirk that he's an excellent starship commander, but the same can't be said for his driving.
Oh, Spock's not got anything to compare with, is he?
I'm sure he knows that you're not meant to sort of be
I suppose
violently.
you can look around and see the others passing them by.
Look out, they're going without their necks being strained.
Indeed. Anyhow, as you say, they do arrive and they're trying to work out how to take down the guards when a precocious young boy approaches them.
It's a hit, ain't it?
I beg your pardon.
You're gonna hit somebody. Can I watch?
Young man, run along and play.
Where'd you get them ears?
Young man,
You're gonna hit Krakow? Out here? You open up and you'll be scragged from every window in the street. I can fix it for you.
young man, this is likely to be quite hazardous. If I
Hold
were
on,
you...
Spock. Out of the mouth of babes.
Who are you calling a babe?
I'm calling you a babe.
You calling me a babe?
Yeah, I'm calling you a babe, but there's nothing personal. Sit down. You know a way we could get close to them?
Sure.
How?
What's in it for me?
What do you want?
A piece of the action.
You do not even know what the action is going to be.
I figure it's gotta be a thick percentage, or you wouldn't be trying to hit Krakow.
Logical.
All right, young man, we'll guarantee you a piece of the action if we can pull this thing off.
Was that a contract?
Done. What do we do?
You don't know what to do.
Do they bump this kid? I don't think he ever gets his piece of the action.
Yeah, no, he gets nothing. Absolute zilch.
That's a shocker.
Well, what's he going to do about it?
Exactly.
That's how it works. He's got to learn a lesson.
Stupid kid. He thinks he's streetwise.
Yeah.
Just been bumped.
Yeah.
He won't do that again, will he?
Well, exactly. You won't trust adults in
No.
the future. That's a good lesson to learn.
So the kid runs over and distracts the mobsters
Yeah.
waiting outside.
He's kind of play fighting on his way across the street. When he gets to them, he acts like he's been hurt and shouts for his father.
Which allows Spock and Kirk to run over and knock them out to gain access.
Once inside, they're able to draw their phasers, but Kirk urges Spock to keep it concealed.
Does he? I
Yeah,
thought it just
he
stuns.
says-
Did not stun another hood?
Well, just before that, he says this because they don't want anyone to see that they've got them.
But did you not say we're okay, we're inside now, it's okay?
Yeah, I know, but he still says a line about keep them concealed. I don't know.
Anyway, he pulls it out and he stuns the hood.
Yeah, but when Krakow appears at the top of the stairs, it turns out that the game is in fact up and not in the way they expected.
Why?
Both Kirk and Spock hear at this moment the pin of the machine gun being drawn,
Yeah.
and they realise that they're in a bit of bother.
So again, they've got to hand over their weapons, and we fade to a nervous Kirk trying to stop Krakow from mishandling them, and whilst demanding to know how they work.
Yes, so Kirk uses psychology here to explain to Krakow that he better trust his men, because if not, then the man who has this weapon will be the new boss.
Now Krakow at first says, yeah, of course I can trust my men, but once the seed's been planted, he accepts this and he walks through to another office. I think he takes two of them through for protection, but it leaves...
Yeah, but is immediately disarmed by Kirk as soon as they get into the office.
Yeah, he claims that they are not messing and that getting a cut off their deal is a paltry reward for an outfit like the Federation. He's trying to make the Federation seem larger and more, I don't know, malevolent than they are.
Well, maybe not larger, but certainly more malevolent, because I think he's quite right to say that the cut they would get from Krakow is peanuts to the Federation, and Spock's happy to concur. Kirk tells Krakow that the Federation has decided that it's going to take over,
The whole racket.
and if Krakow cooperates, they'll cut him in on a very small piece of the action, which Spock emphasises.
But to physically emphasise the shift in power, we see Kirk sit in Krakow's chair, put his feet in the desk, and then beckon Spock to sit beside him and do the same.
Yeah, we're starting to see Spock adopt the mannerisms of the period as well at this point, which is quite interesting and amusing.
Krakow seems to accept the situation, especially when Kirk reminds him that if he doesn't, there's always Oxmix who can take his place.
Yep.
I thought that he gave up far too easily.
Yeah, he very quickly agrees to the deal. And Kirk gets Scotty on comms at this point.
He does. Why?
Well, Scotty's not sure because it's not made very clear to him. But using some vernacular, Kirk asks him to essentially beam Krakow up to the ship.
And the shock of his disappearance allows Kirk and Spock to overpower the other two mobsters and leave.
Indeed. And up in the transporter room, Krakow rants and raves while Scotty makes a mess of his Chicago gangster speak.
Yes.
I think he talks about concrete galoshes.
And a puzzled Krakow says, do you mean cement overshoes?
Yeah. Down on the street, Spock is incredibly concerned.
Yes, with Kirk's driving.
Indeed.
But after being persuaded that it is safe, they get back into the car and eventually head off.
It's quite interesting that their guns had just been left sitting there.
Yeah, that's true. Krakow's office.
Yes, Zabo and the other henchmen wake up and make a plan. They're going to hit Oxmix's headquarters.
Back at Oxmix's office, he is surprised to see Kirk and Spock return, and McCoy can't hide his delight, but is not given the greeting he expected.
Knock it off, Sub-Holmes. I want to talk to this creep. Now listen, I'm getting tired of playing patty cake with you penny ante operators.
What do you mean, a penny ante operator?
You're a penny ante operator. Sit down. All right, Spocko, cover him. Now listen, sweetheart, the Federation's moving in. We're taking over. You play ball, we'll cut you in for a piece of the pie. You don't, you're out. All the way out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Why didn't you say so in the first place? All you had to do was explain it to me.
Kirk to Enterprise.
Enterprise, Scott here, sir.
You got Krakow on ice?
Aye, he's here. Mad enough to chew neutronium, but behaving himself.
Okay, baby, cool him until I flag you.
Flag me?
Keep him there until I send for him. We're gonna make some old-style phone calls from this locale. So you, locate the man at the other end of the blower and give him a ride to this flop.
What?
Find the man at the other end of the phone and transport him to these coordinates. Can't do, sweetheart.
Can do, Captain. Standing by.
Now you, get on the blower and call the other bosses.
I sure don't know what you think you're talking about.
Get with it, I'm giving the orders here.
Hello. Hello?
Scotty,
Scott here.
Guess who?
lock in and energize.
Yeah, you bet your life I got a lot of nerve. What are you gonna...
What was that?
I don't know. I'm not sure if William Shatner's ever actually watched any mobster movies. I'm not sure what he was doing.
This here locale.
Oh, it was still great fun watching it.
Yeah. So, Scotty beams this guy at the other end of the phone conversation. Teppo, or Tipo.
Tipo. Yeah, he's in a state of shock, obviously.
Yeah, he shouts for his mother. It's almost a Stan Laurel moment, starts scratching the top of his head.
Back in Krakow's office, and at the same time, we see his gang arm themselves and head out to get Oxmix.
They're not going to leave anyone alive in the building.
No.
At this point, I was quite concerned.
Why?
I thought they were all going to be killed.
Did you?
I didn't see any way to prevent it.
No.
Anyhow, back at Oxmix's office, lots of the minor bosses now have arrived.
Kirk is on the pool table laying down the law and telling them that they're all going to run the operation like a business. Now, I'm not sure how much you know about the Mafia Commission.
Okay.
Lucky Luciano.
Carry on, tell us.
So back in that was the beginning of sort of organised crime. He formed the commission. So they all decided all these territories, rather than fight and squabble over all these different parts and the different parts of the business, they would come together and they would operate like a company.
Like franchisees?
Yeah, well, yeah, but they'd all report up, there'd be a hierarchy, they would divvy up the different parts of it, and everyone would get a piece of the action rather than fight amongst themselves. So this is effectively like creating, what he's doing here is creating the commission, the beginning of organised crime. But beforehand it was sort of disorganised, everyone done their own thing.
Yeah, like this place.
Like this, yeah.
Okay. As Kirk makes his presentation, Teppo questions how tough the Federation really is. And although Krakow admits he has seen their ship, he says there's only 3 guys on it.
Yeah, but it was different guys, wasn't it? It wasn't the same 3 guys.
3 guys on the ship, 3 guys down here.
Yeah,
6 guys.
This causes an argument in the room. Kirk grabs him and tells him that there are over 400 up there. I think Krakow doubts it, but
yeah,
they're interrupted.
Well, they're interrupted by gunfire outside.
Yeah, as Krakow's mob turn up, and in the confusion, Kirk and his pals get their guns taken from them
again
by Krakow, who tells them he is the big boss.
He's taking over, but Kirk is able to finagle one last call out of him.
And what happens?
He uses the communicator to have Scotty stun everybody in the street.
See, this is, as you said earlier, it's like Superman reversing.
Yeah, it's a Deus Ex Machina sort of nonsense thing.
You can do this all the time then. Many problems they face.
You just stun everybody, then go down and see what's going on.
Yeah. Or actually, it's a bit like Goldfinger.
Okay.
With the gas at Fort Knox. They knock everyone out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Carry on.
Krakow and Oxmix are shocked and are now ready to start talking about a syndicate.
Yeah, I think first of all, Kirk points out that they're only stunned, but if he'd wanted to, they could be dead.
Indeed. He now appoints Oxmix as the top boss.
The boss of bosses.
And Krakow as his lieutenant.
I'm not sure. See, I've got a problem with this. I think this is destined for failure.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not very sustainable, is it?
No, like all of a sudden you're the boss and he's going to accept, Krakow's going to accept being the...
Number two,
maybe for a few days. As soon as he makes a decision he doesn't agree with, there'll be another power struggle here.
Unless he's making more money.
Yeah, but even then they'll be greedy.
Yeah.
I'm making more money, but I know he's making more than me.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work.
Nah.
Anyhow, Kirk says he'll be back, or someone will be back each year for the Federation's 40% cut. And there's a murmur of agreement at this point.
40% sounds massive.
It does almost half the money.
Yeah. And who will do the accounts? That's what I was thinking.
Well, exactly.
Oh yeah, there's a cut. $200.
That's all that was left after expenses. Kirk suggests drinks to mark the occasion.
Happy ending. Everyone, these mobsters who kill people are put in place.
Yeah, Kirk's the only one who thinks this is going to work. And back in the Enterprise, he's surprised to find that Spock and McCoy are a little bit out of sorts.
Yeah, Spock admits that he thinks the solution of leaving the criminals in charge was highly irregular and doesn't know how they can explain the yearly trip to obtain their cut to Starfleet Command.
Yeah, and Kirk comes up with a nonsense suggestion that they put that into the planetary treasury and guide the Iosians into a more ethical system.
Yeah, it just sounds like what you say when you're up to all sorts of corruption.
Yes.
Yeah, this money will be used for
ethical
guidance. We'll put it into the farmers who do the coffee beans and yeah, not really, are you?
No,
not at all.
He thinks that despite themselves, they'll be forced to accept conventional responsibilities, but he's dreaming.
This is absolutely going to be carnage down there. I give him a week, tops.
Complete fudge.
Yeah.
McCoy now confesses to something even worse.
What's that?
He left his communicator on the planet.
And both Kirk and Spock build up the trouble that could cause.
It could be absolutely catastrophic. It contains technology that's used in all major Federation advances.
And then we get a really odd ending. It's very abrupt.
Yeah, Kirk says that this changes the whole dynamic. In a few years, the Iosians may be demanding a piece of their action, and then we get a freeze frame.
Yeah, that's it. Almost like Leslie Nielsen.
It doesn't even make sense.
Expect him to move slightly. It doesn't. No, normally things are tidied up a little bit better. There's a bow put on it. You just feel it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, no, things have been handled badly, dealt with badly, and they've just said, "Nah, this is the furthest away out of the galaxy. We're not coming back here. Let's get away."
That's it, isn't it? I'll be fine. Are you sure? Yeah, it's fine. Let's go. Work for 7.
Don't look back.
Nonetheless, you can't help but enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a good episode. It was fun.
Is this one, how is this regarded with the
think
hardcore
some folk
fans?
love it, and others think it's a bit silly. But I think generally positive.
Top 5 for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. The one thing I had a problem with is this sort of small planet syndrome.
Okay.
They treated it like, the way these guys interacted, it's like it's a city, but they're talking about it as if this represents the whole planet. So Krako's the south side boss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what does that represent?
Nothing.
It's south side of a city, south side of a territory, south side of a...
I think it's city, yeah. I mean, I think that's... Yeah.
Yeah, so outside that sort of city area, is there no more people on the planet? Is everyone living this one... It happens a lot in this series.
Yeah.
You see a town and that represents the whole planet.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they would resolve it differently because they made an emphasis on the people being imitative. And I thought what they were going to do is give them a different example, and they'd start following this different example. What they're going to have to end up with is Batman. They should have left some comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyhow, any other thoughts on that one?
No. But I think that's a fair point. Maybe the solution could have been that they would have left another type of book.
Yeah.
Maybe not Batman.
Not a Bible.
Not a Bible, no. But something else that, I don't know.
The Federation's guiding manual or something.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this originally aired on the 12th of January 1968 and was directed by James Comack. This was his only Star Trek episode, but he had a varied career as a stand-up comedian, a director, an actor, a writer and a producer. He worked on shows like Get Smart, Hennessy, The Courtship of Eddie's Father and Welcome Back, amassing 2 Primetime Emmy nominations along the way.
Very good. Is he dead?
Yeah, he died in 1997 when he was 73. It was written by David Harmon. This was the second of his 2 Star Trek episodes, and there's more about him if you go back and listen to the podcast for The Deadly Years. Anthony Caruso played Bella Oxmix. This was his only Star Trek role, but it was in keeping with many of his other appearances as mobsters in films like The Iron Mistress and The Asphalt Jungle. He also played a number of Native American roles, including the recurring Coranchero El Lobo on The High Chaparral, and he played 14 different characters on Gunsmoke over the years.
14?
Yeah.
Okay.
He died in 2003, aged 86. He perfectly fit the role of a mobster, didn't he?
Yes.
Very well cast. Vic Tayback appeared as Jojo Krakow in his only Star Trek role. Most of these guys, it's their only Star Trek role because it's a very specific episode. He would go on to win 2 Golden Globes for his work on Alice, and he also appeared in Bullet opposite Steve McQueen, as well as TV shows like TJ Hooker and Murder, She Wrote, as well as one episode of Columbo, making him this week's connection. He played Sam Franklin in Suitable for Framing.
Right, I think he might have been an artist.
That's an episode with one of the best gotchas.
Yes. An excellent top 2. In fact, maybe my favourite top 2 anyway.
With Dale.
Yes, Dale Kingston.
Lee Delano was Kalo. So he was the guy that met them when they first arrived. This was his only Star Trek appearance. He was in the film Splash opposite Tom Hanks. And he also showed up in series like Batman, The Rockford Files, and Charlie's Angels. He died in 2017 when he was 86. John Harmon played Teppo, the minor boss. This was his second and final appearance on the show. You might recall him being a down and out called Rodent in City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh yeah, okay.
He regularly showed up as a fingerprint expert on Perry Mason, as well as on shows like Lassie and Bonanza, and he died in 1985 when he was 80.
It'd have been weird if he was a fingerprint expert on Lassie.
Yes, that would be odd.
Yeah.
Especially if he had a recurring role.
He's been a paw expert.
Yeah. One last one. Sheldon Collins, he was the kid who helped to distract.
Very good, no doubt went on to a long and illustrious career.
He appeared in shows like The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Andy Griffith Show, and The Girl from U.N.C.L.E.
Right.
Before becoming an adult when he gave up acting and became a dentist.
Wise move.
He's a big fan of Star Trek and is now 66 years old.
Very good.
He's probably listening.
He was quite good, I enjoyed him.
Yeah, we enjoyed you, Sheldon, well done. A little bit of trivia.
Yeah, sure.
After filming, Anthony Caruso, who was Oxmix, he wrote to the studio in character, thanking the Enterprise crew for helping to establish the Syndicate. It's a bit of an oddball thing to do.
It is, but that is nice.
He must have enjoyed his time on the show.
Yeah, no, I like that.
William Shatner improvised the rules to Fizbin on the spot, so they would get genuine reactions. So that's what all the delay in the actual thinking. He was actually making that up as they filmed it, which is why it's stupid. This is, as we said during the episode, the only time the ship's phasers are used to stun. In Gene Roddenberry's original pitch for Star Trek to the studio, there was a episode idea along these lines set in the 20s in Chicago, or a planet like that. This is the first episode that involves transport from place to place instead of using the transporter room. We saw that when the guys in the end of the phone call were brought to Oxmix's office.
Ah, yeah.
And finally, in terms of international titles, so the Japanese go with Uchu Hansai Shinjiketo, which means the crime syndicate in space.
Yeah, fair enough.
In Germany, it was Epigonen Epigonis, which apparently translates as one of a later and less distinguished generation. But I think there would be a better translation than that.
There must be.
If someone out there can give us a better translation.
Nonsensical.
Yeah, let us know. Next week is the 18th episode of Season 2, The Immunity Syndrome, which features a ship full of Vulcans.
We could all be doing with a bit of immunity these days.
Yeah. In the meantime, you can find us all over social media. We're at Trek Podcast on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And you can find the show episodes on YouTube, as well as StarTrekPodcast.com. There's a post up for each and every one of them. Okay, so we'll see you next week then.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.